Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. The introduction of selected blast mining, or SBM, has the potential to reduce the cost of mining narrow-reef gold and resuscitate South Africa's gold mining ghost towns. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Firstly, can you tell us what selected blast mining is, as well as its benefits for the current situation in the gold mining industry?
See, currently the method of mining and the blasting is very, very wasteful. You're unable to recover the precious metal in the quantities that you should, because you're first blasting it to smithereens and you're mixing it with non-gold rock. You have to do that because in order to mine, you need a height of at least about a meter. But the precious metal only makes up about a third of that meter. And instead of trying to remove just that third, they're removing the meter and the third together, and they're bringing it up to surface, and it means that a lot is lost along the way.
What safety benefits will SBM have?
It doesn't shake things up as much as the current method of mining, and it doesn't fracture the roof of the mine in the same way. So the feeling is that you won't need as many roof bolts to hold the roof up, and that also has a cost factor, of course. So it is they describe it more as a sort of a drum roll than a big bang, because it's sequential, and it uses the shock tube method, which is being used at the moment. So it's not such a departure from what is being done at the moment, and that's why it's being strongly advocated, because everybody concedes that AngloGold Ashanti's method of raise boring is going to be the way to mine, particularly at greater depth, and they're talking about going 4 kilometre, 5 kilometre, even deeper. So that is definitely going to be the way to do it, which is totally automated. But it's going to be it's going to require time to get that in place, and it's almost as if you compare it to electricity. We've got 95% of our electricity, or 90%, or the bulk of our electricity from coal, and you're slowly moving towards wind, and you're slowly moving towards sun. Now, hopefully the raise boring method of AngloGold Ashanti, which takes out the gold, and only the gold all the time, will be quicker than that it will be quicker, its entry will be quicker, and its replacement of existing methods of doing things will be faster than what we see in electricity with the emergence of wind and solar and hydro. Hopefully it will be faster, but they're saying, look, there's an alternative now that you can click into this quite fast. Even some of the companies have patented systems. People in the blast business are keen to get going on this because they don't want to lose their share of the market, and so they've adapted. So it's almost ready to go, and hopefully, for the sake of South Africa, it will be considered. Or, if there's something better and quicker, let's go for that. We don't need to be ideological about what technology we go for. We've got no vested interests, but do something better, and do something better as fast as you can, and I don't see it happening.
It seems they could slip this in between, what they're doing now, until they get going with the raise boring. Yes,
and or otherwise the good news will be that they're bringing in the raise boring all over tomorrow.
What other cost implications are there?
Well, the cost implications from a point of view of gold mining are considerable. But if you look at what this is worth, if you go towards the selected blast mining, it actually it's like a virtual 30% increase in the price of your metal, because you're only bringing a third of that rock to the surface. The rock, it doesn't bear the gold. You're using it. You're leaving it underground for backfill, and it will encourage underground crushing and all that sort of activity. But when you go to platinum, it's even better, because with platinum at the moment, their recovery rate is only about 65%, as far as I understand. It's lower than in gold, particularly because of the problem of the chrome being mixed with the. So if you're looking at the recovery, the total picture, one is not just looking at the blasting, one is also looking at the smelting. And what is being advocated now by Dr. Robbie Robinson, who's a retired research commentator who looks at these things and has done incredible work in the industry since 1950, is that this could be something that would really benefit South Africa, and in the platinum sense even more than gold, in that in the platinum sense you would also look to doing a double move there and ending the smelting, which is very electricity intensive. We haven't got the electricity, and moving over to what they call the CAL process, or hydrometallurgy, where it's a different form of recovery. So everybody's trying to think of ways now to do things better, because you don't want these industries to die. With technology you can do a much better job. Already they're putting finite horizons on our gold mines. In Carltonville, Velcom has really shrunk. And what Dr. Robertson is saying, that if you introduce SPM, you could revive those ghost towns. You could bring those ghost towns back to life. Now that's a compelling proposition. And if this isn't so, or someone's got something better, let them come forward, because South Africa needs it at the moment. You can see with the strikes going on, South African workers are demanding far more. They're pointing to the risks, and they want the reward to be commensurate to the risk. And it's reached a point where if the reward does become commensurate to the risk, and we still have these low productivity levels, we'll have to close the mines. If we close the mines, it'll be a big blow to our economy, because those exports are so important. People talk about the mining industry being a small proportion of the general economy, but as an exporter, the mining industry punches way above its weight. It covers nearly 50% of our exports, sometimes more. So it's crucial that these precious metals continue to be exported if we want to live the way we've been living, and get ourselves new cars, etc. Particularly imported versions and imported cell phones and all that sort of thing, because we're definitely buying too much abroad. We're definitely not exporting enough from South Africa. And this sort of activity, if we introduce technology, and there is the technology there, say the researchers, been around for a long time, discussed it, saying, look, there are better ways of doing these things. We're losing a lot, we could recover a lot. If we introduce SPM, it will be equivalent to a 30% increase in the metal price. I mean, that is huge. And at the same time, we say that if you do this, it will have such a big impact that with the potential upside with the upturn in the gold price would mean these cities that have relied on gold could now be revived. Places like Carltonville could get a new lease in life. And they're saying even places like Boksburg, ERPM, there's a lot more to do there in those mines. And we know that at Grootvlei, where Aurora was, there's plenty of gold under there, but it is underwater. So there are all sorts of opportunities which I don't see anyone really taking. We need to lift morale, and we can pay workers any amount they want, provided they give us the productivity. If they don't give us the productivity, we can't pay them anything they want. And then if they force the issue, you've got to cease operating. But if you have a mediation of people and technology, you can give the people so much more, give them their slice, they get the extra productivity. And we saw all the comparisons now saying, look, mine workers in Australia earn 4 times what our mine workers do, but they got 10 times the productivity because they mediated with equipment. A lot of them aren't underground, they're big open cast. So you've got to compare apples with apples, and we're in a tight spot at the moment with our precious metals and most other mining, but particularly precious metals. Out of the mining industry has always come big changes in South Africa. It is the sort of harbinger of change. Hopefully we're heading for another big change. And I'm sure the first thing that people will have to say is that, yes, we can earn any salary, just name it. But you've got to then produce to that level of productivity. And of course, the market also has got to be able to take all that. And we sit with, a big population that's unemployed. So we've got particular characteristics that one says, well, that you can't just compare it with Canada or Australia. So we've got unique situations, we've got to have unique solutions, and perhaps you can float all boats if you mix new technology with the aspirations of people, take the risk out of mining, make the reward greater, and technology can do that.
Let's hope the right people are listening.
I hope so.
Thank you, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's the show for today. Join us again next time for more news and insight into what's happening in the mining world.